Michaela, this is Meekela Reads, and I read some books. I'm going to tell you about it, but first, you are dirty. So I'm just going to clean you off. March was weird for reading this year. Normally I can like maintain a pace throughout the month, but I feel like I hit it really hard at the start of the month and then just fell off the wagon towards the end, and that is continuing. One could call this a reading slump, but I'm not one for labels. So the first and only book that I will be giving you an actual physical book to look at today is Twilight. I've read Twilight again in March and annotated the shit out of it. I have an entire reading vlog for this, go check it out if you are interested in my thoughts, but I read this again for the first time in 15 years, so I have a lot of thoughts having grown into an adult and myself in the last 15 years. So I read Twilight. I didn't rank it. I don't think I need to. It definitely went down though. Next I read Frostbite by Rochelle Mead. This is the second Vampire Academy series book, and I am doing a reread with some people in the Discord from the Booked and Busy podcast. I wanted to reread it this year anyway because it is my goal to get through my TBR, and one of the books is the last book in the Bloodline series, which is the spin-off from the Vampire Academy series, and I don't remember anything, so we need to know what's happening. Funny story with Frostbite, I actually ended up reading this pretty much entirely in one night to catch up. It's not an overly large book. I think it's under 300 pages, but I did have a very good time reading it. I find that the pacing for the second one was really good. The story was interesting. I forgot that it was as sad as it is. I did reduce its ranking to 3 out of 5 stars. I don't know what it was before. I think it was like a 4, maybe a 5 before. I'm not the person I used to be, so it's gone down because I have gotten old. But I still had a very fun time reading it, and I am thoroughly enjoying reading with a group of people, getting through the series, having someone hold me accountable and telling me when and when not to read it. I think that's the best thing that I'm enjoying about this. Next, I read Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner. Crying in H Mart is a memoir written obviously by Michelle Zauner. She is a Korean American woman who has lost her mother and is telling us the process of her grief throughout that period of time. I actually did a buddy read with Shani from Shani and Books for this book, which was really exciting. She was reading it for Koreadathon, but I just wanted to read it because I needed to feel feelings. I did not feel feelings, and I am mad about it. I think that there's a few elements to this book that meant that I did not connect with it as much as some people that I know who have loved it have. I don't have the heritage of the author. I don't have the same upbringing or the same familial circumstances that she did, but there were some things that I did relate to in terms of relationships with family and people coming and going out of your life as they do, which did really help to connect me with the story. That is kind of like one of the reasons that I enjoyed it. But yeah, I didn't cry, I didn't feel feelings as much as I wanted to, which maybe I think I hyped it up too much in my head, but I'm not sure. I still really appreciate that this was a fantastically constructed narrative following a very traumatic and emotional event for the author, and you can tell in the way that she has written it that it is something that still impacts her and is still very prevalent and present in her day-to-day life. The food imagery was amazing. I loved how well the food was described. It just made me really hungry when I was reading it, but I did not like her parents. Flat out didn't like them at all. I understand why they are the way they are, but it doesn't make it better. So I ended up actually giving Crying in H Mart a 3 out of 5 stars. Next, we listened to A Court of Thorns and Roses and A Court of Mist and Fury, neither of which I have on me. A, because I listened to them via audiobook, but also because I gave them to one of my friends, my physical copies. They're missing from my shelf. It's March. That's the only reasoning I have. I have a vlog coming out where I primarily listen to A Court of Thorns and Roses and A Court of Mist and Fury, so stay tuned for that. But every single year around March, April, May time, I get the urge to read A Court of Thorns and Roses. I don't know if it's the weather shift, it starts to get colder here in Australia, or if it's just that's when she drops books, and so then I feel the need to continue on with her other books. It's a comfort read. I was feeling low, we needed some serotonin, and it's just a guaranteed serotonin filler. I haven't changed my rankings at all. It's just I re-listened to them. I wanted to put them in here. I don't need to talk about them. I've done that enough on this channel. So ACOTAR and ACOMAF. I DNF'd a book this month, I never DNF books. Again, in the vlog it explains it. I think it was the last full week of March, I was in the middle of reading 5 or 6 different books, and I started reading Blood Like Magic, and I got about 25% of the way through. I was reading this for the World Book Club, and I just wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't having a good time. The main character just shit me to tears, and I stopped reading it. My main reasons, and I say this in the vlog as well, go watch that if you feel like it when it's out. If you're watching this like after the day of this coming out, the vlog's not out yet. It will be. I'm working on it. So my main reasons for DNFing Blood Like Magic. The main character shit me to tears. She has this character flaw where she can't make decisions. She's really indecisive. I can relate to that to an extent. We're all indecisive to an extent, but this seemed like, I don't know, it didn't seem like a really hard decision to make, or one that could be procrastinated as much as it was procrastinated in the book. With that being said, it was at 25% of the way through that she made a decision, and thus unfolded the main purpose of the story, which was, I don't know, 100 and something pages into the book. It's too far into the book for me to be learning about what is going to be happening. I couldn't do it. It just frustrated me. I didn't have the time to read it either. So a whole lot of different things that actually ended with this being the final outcome. But I couldn't make the live show anyway for the book. I wasn't having a good time. I didn't like the main character. I didn't connect to any of the other characters either. I think the book has potential, and the story has potential, and the characters have potential. I was on a time limit for so many different books. I didn't have the time nor the want to put the time into that book when I had so many others that were pressing that actually had to be finished within a certain period of time. So it's not a DNF forever, it's just a DNF for right now. I think that I might pick it back up around Halloween, October time. I think that might be a better time. Bit more on theme, bit more, I don't know, seasonal. It's a bit witchy, so I'm gonna probably pick it back up in October. But yes, DNF'd Blood Like Magic, and that's why. I did, however, finish Sharks in the Time of Saviors for the Pocket Pages book club. That was another one that was on a time limit. Time limits and stuff. I also struggled through this book, but I made it to the end. I was much more invested in the story. I kind of understood a bit more about what was happening. So Sharks in the Time of Saviors follows this one family who live in Hawaii. We start our story from the perspective of the mum and how the kind of main character of the series is conceived. And this is kind of almost like a fantastical magical element to the book. It is a magical realism, so that makes sense as to why. But then we follow that family through from basically that child being the age of about 5 up until being an adult. Child in question, his name is Noah, or Nainoa. He has this ability to heal people, or this ability to see and understand the body and convince it to heal itself. The family, having come upon hard times, go on this last-ditch effort to go on a holiday. They're on a boat, Noah goes overboard, and sharks bring him back. They just gently pick him up and bring him back to the boat. And from then on, the family are a town phenomenon. Everyone knows about them. Everyone knows about Noah's powers and his magical ability. And so the family start using Noah as a source of income as he heals people and sees them and talks to them about their troubles. This, however, has an impact on our dear main character, Nainoa. The story kind of follows him going through the internal turmoil that comes with this power, but we also primarily have the perspectives of his 2 siblings. So he has a brother and a sister. I really didn't like the brother's perspective. I found him obnoxious and pretentious, and I just didn't connect with him on any single level. The sister, however, was the champion of the book. Loved her. Every time her chapters came on, I was all about it. And so we're kind of following their stories as they go through their childhood and their young adulthood as the siblings of this gifted magical child, which obviously comes with a lot of shadows and walking in their footsteps. And so these 2 siblings are really trying to make their own way in the world. I enjoyed the book. I liked it. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars, so it was enjoyable. I probably won't read it again, but it was very, very good for a debut novel. And I think that it was a really, really lovely glimpse into like native Hawaiian lore and culture and just the struggles that they're experiencing, like with all of the tourism that happens in Hawaii. So, Sharks in the Time of Saviors. I liked it. And because my throat is dying, thankfully we're at the last one. I finished listening to The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. Again, I explained this in the blog because that's when this primarily happens. But I have been trying to convince Jared to read a book since I've known him, 4 years now. And I knew he would like The Name of the Wind. And so I bought the audiobook and I would just put it on long car trips. And eventually, lo and behold, he's hooked, he's in, he loves it. He's actually now almost finished The Wise Man's Fear. I haven't started The Wise Man's Fear yet, but we were listening to The Name of the Wind together. But he wanted to do his own thing and take over, so he finished it, and then I went back and then finished it from where I was up to. So I have finished The Name of the Wind for the 3rd time now, hoping that the 3rd book comes out sometime this year so that I'm back up to date with what happens in the story. But if you haven't heard, The Name of the Wind is a fantasy series that follows our main character Kvothe as he is telling his life story to a chronicler. Kvothe is, again, kind of like that magical gifted child who started out as a performer in a troupe. However, tragedy strikes and he is thrust out into the world literally by himself. He has to make his own way in the world, but thankfully he is incredibly quick-witted. He has a fantastic education, and so he finds himself at a university where he learns about magic. It is one of my favorite stories of all time. I think Patrick Rothfuss writes characters very, very well, and I would happily read The Name of the Wind every year for the rest of my life. I don't think I changed my rating. I think it's still a 5 out of 5 stars for me. Just always is, always was, always will be. And I will be jumping into The Wise Man's Fear at some point in the near future, so stay tuned. But that is all of the books that I have to talk to you about today. They're all the books that I read in March. Again, weird month. I feel like I read more than I actually did read. No, I feel like I read less than I actually read. I read a lot and I don't feel like I read a lot. We'll leave it at that. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you are having a fantastic day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!